G'day everyone, it's Rainey here, and it's time for an anime review. It's currently the spring 2021 season, so I'm just going to go over a collection of first episodes from what's new this season. I'm not going to review every single new thing for various reasons, but anyway, let's just go to my rating system first up. So, I have 5 categories, and the first is must watch. This is usually reserved for anime that I've been looking forward to, so I have a good idea of its quality. Then I have seems hopeful. This is kind of like a tentative yes, so I'll keep watching until it starts to be disappointing. Then I have will try another episode. This is usually for something that I thought had an interesting concept or characters, and then I'll give it a couple more episodes to prove itself. And then I have could only watch the first episode. Sometimes you get an anime where you get through the first episode and you're like, that's all I need. A lot of anime tends to fall into this category. And lastly, we have the nope category. This is for anime that I couldn't get the entire way through because, well, it might be bad, or I knew it just wasn't for me, or it just rubbed me the wrong way from the start. Yeah, let's get started. First up, we have Joran, Princess of Snow and Blood. The basic plot for this is there's a woman seeking revenge against a higher power. She joins an assassination group working to undermine the current government. The world is set in 1930s Japan, but it combines steampunk aesthetics and Japanese esoterica. And there are also like these werewolf beings, kind of like in the way, part of like a science experiment gone wrong. The story seems okay, but the art style is the more interesting thing, though I don't exactly think that's saying much because I feel like I've seen this sort of thing before. Either way, I'll give it another episode and see how it pans out. So yeah, we'll try another episode. Next we have, now if there is a Japanese title, I might try and say it and butcher it, but I'll try and stick to the English most of all. So this is Yakunara Mug Cup More, which is Let's Make a Mug Too. And this is one of those cute girls doing cute things anime, and I swear there's an anime for every single hobby out there. I've seen one with a tokusatsu club before, which I thought was pretty funny. This one, though, is about cute girls doing cute pottery, and I quite like the first episode. It's about a girl moving back to her mother's hometown and discovering that her mother was a pottery genius. So she joins the same club that her mother was in during school. The episodes are only about 15 minutes each, but I think that's just perfect for this sort of concept. I'm pretty hopeful for this one since it seems like a nice show that you can drink a cup of tea to while you're also watching the cute girls making cute teacups. So yeah, seems hopeful. After that, we have Mashiro no Oto, These Snow White Notes. I had certain expectations for this going in, thinking it was another after-school club anime, but it actually wasn't at all. So it's a young man goes to Tokyo after his grandfather, who was a legendary shamisen player, dies. And his last words to his grandson were, "You should give up playing if all you intend to do is imitate me." Yeah, pretty devastating. The first episode has him meeting an aspiring actress who takes him in and gives him his first step towards finding his own style of playing. After that, the girl gets on a train and she leaves. And I can't tell you how much I really hate when shows do this for their first episode. I mean, it makes the episode feel really closed off, and there's no point continuing to watch since we got all this character development for for someone that's now out of the picture. But besides that, I did feel like the show was a bit too dreary, so one episode was all I needed. After that, Vivi, Blue Right Eye Song. I wasn't sure about the premise about this when I first heard it, but I ended up liking it a lot. So the anime opens to scenes of people getting killed by theme park robots, which is pretty eye-catching. A scientist then sends information back 100 years in the past to when robots were just getting started, and the instructions are received by Vivi, one of the first autonomous AIs who works in a theme park as an idol, but she isn't very popular. And that's because she's still learning what it is to be human and how to sing with a heart, that sort of thing. The information sent back is done in the form of an AI who then possesses a teddy bear, and their relationship is not the best. And yeah, this is kind of like a 100-year project, so we'll see how that goes. But the project is basically preventing Skynet from becoming a reality. So yeah, there's a definite whiff of the Terminator going on here, but I still think that it has the potential to be its own thing. So I'm putting this one as hopeful. And next, Sato in Hakem Shimas. which is combatants will be dispatched. Um, this is by the same author that did Konosuba, and it shows. Konosuba was kind of funny at the time it came out because it was such a bizarre isekai from what was currently out there. But I don't currently feel the well, currently I don't feel the same way about it any longer, and I pretty much gave up on the movie about 10 minutes in. But yeah, this show is about an evil organization, and they're almost done conquering the world. So now they've set their sights on conquering other worlds. And to do this, they've sent their an agent. His name is Agent Six, and they've sent an android companion that looks like a small girl to this fantasy world. And there are a few mysteries, like why does their ancient technology look like it's from Earth? But yeah, I'm not a fan of the humor or the personalities of the characters. So yeah, I could only watch the first episode, and that's all I'm gonna do. Next is Dragon Earwol Cowl. Dragon goes house hunting. The premise for this is a weak dragon gets kicked out of home and has to look for a new place, aided by a real estate agent elf. Yeah. It's a cute concept, but I don't think it's executed very well. I think it's just going to be one old school RPG joke after another that's pretty worn out, and I don't have much else to say, so I could only watch the first episode. After that is Sayonara Watashi no Kramer, Farewell My Dear Kramer, and don't ask me what a Kramer is or who Kramer is. I don't think it's Kramer from Seinfeld though. Um, yeah, I wasn't able to finish this one even 10 minutes in because of the art style. I've seen this style a few times, but I think this is one of the worst examples of it, and the characters kind of look like undead puppets with fish eyes that are too far wide apart. Kind of creepy to me. The opening scenes didn't grab me either because it had people talking about the decline of women's soccer and how boring it is, which is actually really sad to me because 10 years ago there was a kids anime where they had kids from a local neighborhood join together. They were inspired by the female Japan's female team, the Nadeshikos, and they were like a huge inspiration at the time. So seeing women's soccer get talked down at the start kind of sucks. Especially if it's just for the sake of the main character, being able to show off how good she is compared to all the other girls that are going to be in the show. So yeah, that's a nope. After that, we have Seven Knights Revolution. Um, I didn't get very far through this one either because it's a game adaptation which I haven't played, and it's probably more suited towards the fans. Did feel a bit generic with evil taking over and there's special heroes and they have their special powers. Yeah, whatever. Next. um, this one's another mouthful. Hige wo soru, soshite joshikosei wo hiro. So after being rejected, I shaved and took in a high school runaway. Yeah. I was really unsure of how this one would turn out because the premise, basically a guy gets rejected by a lady that he's been crushing on in his office. And yeah, he stumbles home one night drunk and he finds a runaway high school girl. She asks to stay at his place in exchange for favors, but he refuses. However, he then realizes if he doesn't let her stay with him, she'll just try the next guy, and so he kind of adopts her and tries to work out what her deal is. Um, I'm a bit. I kind of hate to admit that I ended up liking this because a lot of anime doesn't tend to handle these sorts of scenarios well, but I actually thought this was pretty okay. There's another anime airing this season which has a similar concept, but it's done in a really wrong way. But this one, I mean, I'm kind of wondering how things are going to progress because the main character actually seems pretty aware of how bad things could get. Um, at the same time, he worries about the high school girl because her attitude her attitude towards things has been badly warped by her experiences, and he just wants her to live a normal life. So yeah, I'm gonna keep watching this one to see where it goes because I actually really like the characters and I want to see them happy. So yeah, we'll try another episode. Next we have Mars Red. Okay, this is one of those secret military units that have been set up to fight a certain enemy, and in this case, it's vampires. Still not sure what to think of this one. The first episode was about the unit leader coming back to Japan and meeting his first vampire. And she was turned during an accident, during a theater rehearsal. So she has trouble discerning reality, and her dialogue is mostly made up of quotes from the script. The whole show's it's done with a melodramatic flair, but I know I do like how they left a lot of questions up to the reader, sorry, the watcher, to put together. However, this was another one of those the character introduced in the first episode vanishes scenarios again, which I said before I dislike. Um, does make a bit more sense in this one since the character is a vampire and she can't stick around, but I don't think I need to see any more, so this one's another could only watch the first episode. After this, Seijo no Marioku wa Banno desu. The saint's magic power is omnipotent. And I'm actually really happy that this one got an anime because I've been following the manga for a while. It's about a woman summoned to another world to become a saint, but she's one of two, and the prince decides the younger girl is the saint, which leaves the older one with nothing to do. She ends up joining a research institute to craft potions, and she gets involved with the Knights Division as they fight monsters. There isn't that much to say, I suppose, mostly because it's a very nice laid back romance sort of tale. However, I'm always happy to see an isekai with a female lead, and especially one where the main character isn't a teenager. So yeah, this is going on the must watch list for me. Now here is a mouthful. The Japanese title is Kyokyoku Shinka Shita Full Dive RPG ga Genjitsu Yori mo Kusoge Dattara. Yeah, this ultimate next gen full dive RPG is even shittier than real life. Yeah, just give me 1 second to get my breath back after pronouncing that. So yeah, a kid is tricked into playing an old VR MMO that was condemned for being too hard and was subsequently abandoned by its players. And the reason for it being too hard? It was because it was far too realistic, and the players' stats are actually based on their real life athletic abilities. Yeah, so you can imagine how well that would go. However, the main character messes everything up from the moment that he starts playing, like even worse than the scenario that he's put in. And I found that pretty damn funny. So I'm looking forward to the next episode, and I'm gonna put this as a seems hopeful. Next, Super Cub. I thought this was going to be another cute girls doing cute things show, but I was mistaken, I think. And I'm not sure if this is a love letter to the Super Cub motorcycle or an ad, but the first episode was, well, pretty sweet. It's about a girl with basically she's got nothing. She's got no parents, no friends, no hobbies. She rides a bike to and from school up and down a hill when she absolutely hates it each day. She doesn't talk very much, but one day she decides to go buy a scooter and ends up with a super cub. Also, it's very subtle at first, but whenever she hops on the bike, the background colors get brighter, and I really like that. So yeah, it's a very quiet anime with nice landscapes, but that's perfectly fine. I do like quiet shows like this. And I do think the girl will make friends now that she can travel places and has something that she can relate to people with. But yeah, I kind of appreciate shows like this though. Many times the first episode for these sorts of shows make like a perfect short story and that's all. But I'm gonna give this a few more episodes and see where it goes. Next is Bhaktan, backflip. So just like how there's a cute girls doing cute things show for every hobby out there, there's also a hot guys doing hot sports show for every sport. And this time it's men's rhythmic gymnastics. I was surprised because I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently it's pretty popular in Japan since their version is quite different from other countries. So, in this, the club competes as a team, so there's a lot of coordination, and yeah, the anime handles that movement pretty well. They use 3D, but the models are rather decent, and they swap out to traditional in closer shots. So, I couldn't actually tell at first glance if it was 3D or rotoscope, but so, well, yeah, they've done pretty well there if I couldn't tell at first. The main character reminds me a lot of Onoda from Yowamushi Pedal, but admittedly, I kind of like those naive and nice type boys because, well, you feel their emotions and passions a lot more easily. And passion is definitely an important factor in a sports anime like this. So I'm putting this one as a seems hopeful as well. Next is Shakunetsu Kabari, Burning Kabari. And here's the other sports show for this season, and it's an even more niche sport, perhaps? I know a lot of Westerners haven't heard of it. If you're not familiar with what kabaddi is, it's kind of for me to describe. It's kind of like extreme tag, maybe a little bit of dodgeball since you've got the different sides of teams. Yeah, I can't really. But the first episode does do a pretty good job of laying down the ground rules. I don't have many expectations for the plot though, since sports anime are pretty formulaic, but they're always more about the characters and their dynamics as part of a team. Uh, Unfortunately, I didn't quite get a good feel for the characters, and they do seem a bit generic. The main character is a reluctant type that gets bribed into joining. There's an enthusiastic short guy, the Kohai. There's a scheming senpai, and there's the those two guys who they tend to appear in pretty much every anime, that sort of stereotype, and they're mostly just there to create background jokes. Maybe they will evolve as time goes on, but I have to admit that I'm more interested in how kabari is portrayed, since it's a very unique sport. So I'll try another episode. Next, oh dear. Okay. Fairy runmaru. Uh, how do I describe what I saw? Uh, there are these hot fairy dudes, and they're turned into high school boys, and they're like magical boys saving the hearts of people. And there was a transformation sequence where I've never seen such detailed men's nipples in an anime before. And then the fairy boy was in a Madoka witch labyrinth with weird art styles, and then there was a Twitter bird that attacked him, and then he stabbed a girl made of sparkles, and then he asked, "What is love?" I'm very confused. So I'm gonna put that as a nope. Now, next we have The World Ends With You, the animation. This is that Square Enix game from a few years back, and although I'm really happy to see this franchise get new content, I'm also a little worried about the anime. Supposedly, this is the definitive telling of the plot, but they've rushed really kind of quick through the first 3 days of the game, where a lot of the characters are meant to be established and their relationships, are set up. So I don't normally look up the staff either for a show unless I feel something is up, and I did for this, and I was I was kind of shocked to see that the director is heading 3 different anime this season, which includes the Kabari one. I don't often hear of directors doing multiple shows a season, I don't think. But yeah, I have to wonder how much effort is being put into this, or if this is just being done to raise interest before the new game comes out. I can't say for sure. But at the very least, the art style has been recreated very faithfully. I think fans will appreciate the show as a way of getting a refresher on the plot, and I'll try another episode, but if it's not looking good, I'll drop it. Now, another game adaptation. This is Blue Reflection Ray. I didn't get through this because that kind of sucks. Not that it sucks, it just wasn't for me. Yeah, it's an adaptation of a game by a developer that I really like, and they do the Atelier series, and I'm a huge fan of that, but I never played this game. And I found the first episode of this really boring, and I don't know, it's got that same Madoka art labyrinth thing, and yeah, I don't really have that much to say about it, so yeah, not my cup of tea, nope. Okay, 86. I've seen a lot of people that have been excited for this, and after watching, I understand why. So, the story revolves around a very homogenous looking nation waging war using remote droids, which have dropped their battle casualties to zero. Due to this, they have a very safe and peaceful life, and the military are often shown day drinking and goofing around since they have little else to do. Except we soon learn the truth. The only remote part of the droids is that there is a commander sitting in a seat telling the pilots what to do. And yes, the pilots are human or not. Um, the pilots are actually referred to as processors, and they're not regarded as humans, so their deaths aren't counted towards the casualty rate. We get a short introduction to the lives of those living on either side, and yeah, I'm really interested in seeing how the main characters interact when they're put in such a position. I have a really good feeling about this one, so I'm going to put it on the must-watch list. Now, Bishonen Tantai Dan, which is Pretty Boy Detective Club. And I didn't even have to look up the studio to know that this was another Shaft work. If you've seen any Shaft shows before, you know the style and their melodramatic nature. I kind of feel like in recent years their stuff has gotten increasingly harder to watch because of this, and I don't think this story in particular helps that. It's about a group of beautiful detective boys that are fawned over and beloved by all for their amazing talents, and that's where I turned the episode off. There's heaps of pausing, lots of dramatic angles, um, close-ups of body shots, and yeah, kind of not really my thing. And usually, if I want a series where there's a girl surrounded by pretty boys, I want it to be less pretentious. So yeah, this is a note from me. Next is where are we up to? Aha, Shadow's House. I saw the trailer for this one just before it came out, and it really interested me with its gothic style. The style actually felt pretty familiar, so I looked it up, and I was surprised because the creator of this is actually the same that did a little known manga called Kuro, and I really like that one. I can see the similarities between Kuro and Shadow's House because there's supernatural elements and a mystery, as well as there being like a slice of life sort of angle to it. So, not much has been revealed so far, but the story is about a group of beings made of soot that live together in a mansion. They each have their own servant, which is called a living doll, which is meant to be a mirror to what they look like since they obviously can't see their own faces. Um, so far, we've been introduced to Kate, the Shadow, and her maid, Emiliko, but we'll probably meet the other inhabitants soon and find out what's going on. I'm pretty intrigued by the story, so I'm putting this as a must watch, since I'm sure it'll be as good as Kuro was. And next is Tokyo Revengers. This was one I had no idea about going in, but I think I'm hooked actually. The art is a little bit different from normal, but nothing too weird. It has a guy with a very boring, sad life, and he finds out that his only girlfriend that he ever had in middle school has been killed by a gang in the middle of a turf war. He ends up realizing he peaked in middle school and wishes he could go back. And then he gets pushed into the into an oncoming train and he wakes up back in middle school. However, yeah, he realizes that it was actually the worst time of his life. But he actually gets a chance to make things right and he teams up with his girlfriend's brother. It's a little bit more complicated than that, and there's a lot of information that's been given to us so far, but I'm really intrigued. Erased had a similar premise, going back in time to save someone that aired a few years ago. Um, I thought personally it wasn't very well executed, as things were telegraphed way too well before they were revealed. So I'm hoping Revengers does it better, and I really like the characters so far, which is good. And I actually felt the same level of cringe as the protag upon seeing what he looked like as an edgelord teen. So I'm going to put this as seems hopeful, since I got a good feeling about it. Next is Slime talsh de 300 nen shiranai uchi ni level max ni. Natemashita. I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. That's a mouthful as well. I read the manga for this, so I already know what it's like, and I got kind of bored, to be honest. It's an isekai where a woman is reborn as an immortal witch and unintentionally becomes the strongest in the world by defeating slimes every day for 300 years. Pretty much what it says in the title. She constantly gets bothered by challenges, even though she wants to live a slow life, and over the year, well, she meets a few people, like challenges that come to her doorstep, and she kind of takes a few of them in and takes care of them. And it's not bad, but it's not something I feel like I want to watch at this time. Also, as much as I love the voice actor Yuki Aoi, it's kind of frustrating to hear her voice again in like yet another isekai. Um, so yeah, I could only really watch the first episode. It's not really my thing. After that is Fumetsu no Anata E, To Your Eternity. Oh boy, just thinking about this one. Yeah, I'm not crying. You're crying. This episode really struck me in the kokoros. Yeah. I get the feeling the next episode will as well. I'm not too sure about what the show is about, but so far we've been introduced to an orb that was thrown to Earth, and it can take the shape of other things depending on certain circumstances. So it starts life as a rock, but when a wolf dies next to it, it becomes the wolf, and then it walks on and finds a boy living alone in the snow. I don't really want to spoil what happens, but the show looks like it to be. It looks like it's going to be an adventure series where the main character comes across different cultures and learns about them each episode or so. Tino's Journey, and more recently there was Wandering Witch, which was a couple seasons ago, and they're pretty similar. These these sorts of shows tend to be pretty like kind of reflective and quiet and peaceful, and but they do have some action in between. So I do think To Your Eternity will follow suit. I'm gonna try a few more episodes because this genre doesn't always connect with me. So yeah. And as for the last of the new stuff, there's Osumake, rom-com where the childhood friend won't lose. Um, I wasn't actually able to keep my attention during this one because despite them saying it was a romantic comedy, I didn't actually see anything funny in it at all. This kind of feels like one of those misunderstanding dramas where the main character sets himself up for fail. In this case, he vows revenge against a girl he has a crush on because supposedly she has a boyfriend now. It also seems like his own childhood friend seems to be manipulating him to her own ends because she's jealous. That's what it feels like, at least. I ended up turning this off about halfway through, so that's a nope. And yeah, a bit of a bummer to end on. So I want to bring up some other anime that are currently airing and their sequels. So we have Zombieland Saga Revenge, and I'm really glad this got a new season because the first season was fantastic. It's about a bunch of girls that are brought back from the dead throughout. They're all from different eras, so there's one from like the 80s, there's ones from like way further back as well. And yeah, they're brought back as zombies to form the best idol group ever. Except they're based in the prefecture of Saga, which is about as far from Tokyo as you can get on the main islands. So they're local idols at best, and they have to work their way up from the very bottom. Each of the girls has a very distinct personality and past, and now they have to come to grips with their new undead lives and hiding it in public. And sometimes they might come across things from their past that they have to hide. And yeah, we're getting a continuation of their story now, and I'm looking forward to seeing them crawl back up into the limelight again. So yeah, check the first season out. After that, we have So I'm a Spider, So What? Um, this is actually one of my favorite isekai series from the past couple years, and it's an interesting take as an entire class is reborn in a different world, not just one person. Most of the classmates stay humans, but our main protagonist she wakes up alone and she's a spider. She's the weakest creature in the underground labyrinth. However, she's really plucky and she's determined to fight and survive. So she fights her way through the labyrinth, and she finds out more about the world that she's arrived in. At the same time, her other classmates are going through their own troubles with the Demon King is growing in power, and I think honestly it's a really good plot, and there's an interesting twist which I think some viewers might be able to pick up as time goes on. It started airing last season and it's continuing this season after a short break, so it should be easy to find the episodes. So yeah, let's do my wrap up. So, my must watches are The Saint's Magic Power is Omnipotent, 86, and Shadow's House. Your mileage might vary depending on your tastes, which is why I'm also going to recommend you check out some of my other picks, which are Vivi Fluorite Eyes Song, Full Dive, Backflip, and Tokyo Revengers. I think that's a pretty good coverage of the various genres out there. However, if any of the other shows I talked about did spark your interest, there's no reason why you can't watch it yourself. I'm not going to stop you. Yeah, you might end up liking them way more than I did. And either way, it's really good to see a large variety of anime coming back this year after how dismal it was last year. And yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. That's my spring 2021 anime summary. I'll see you all next time. Bye!